نرحب بكم من جديد. ندعو الحضور لدخول القاعة لبدء الجلسة التالية.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We will now begin the fourth session titled Eco-Innovations for a Sustainable Future.
الجلسة الرابعة تحت عنوان الابتكارات البيئية في خدمة المستقبل، ويشارك فيها كل من الدكتور حسني غديرة، أستاذ ممارسات في جامعة محمد بن زايد للذكاء الاصطناعي.
The session will be attended by Dr. Husni Ghadira, Professor of Practice at Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence.
والدكتور باتريك بول وولش، نائب رئيس ومدير أكاديمية أهداف التنمية المستدامة التابعة لشبكة الأمم المتحدة لحلول التنمية المستدامة.
Dr. Patrick Walsh, Vice President of Education and Director of the SDG Academy at the United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network.
وكاترينا حسباني، مؤسسة مجموعة إنرابت.
And Katarina Hasbani, founder of Inrupt.
وبهارش بلغاريان، المدير التنفيذي لشركة URC.
And finally, Baharaj Bakrian, CEO of URB.
وتدير الجلسة الإعلامية نوفر رمول، مذيعة أخبار أولى بمؤسسة دبي للإعلام.
The session will be moderated by Nofar Ramul, Senior TV Presenter at Dubai Media Incorporated. Please welcome on stage. Thank you. Pleasure.
Hi, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Everyone, I know it's after lunch and probably your energy are low, but I gave my decision for AI to improve our energies here, and we have all the ingredients for this, and it will be low calorie, don't worry. So good afternoon. Today we are here to discuss one of the most pressing and exciting topics at the same time of our time, how innovation can lead toward more sustainable future. The challenges we face are really significant: climate change, resources scarcity, and rapid urbanization. But alongside these challenges come incredible opportunities, from groundbreaking energy solution to AI-powered environmental tools and the creation of smarter and greater cities. Innovation is unlocking new ways, actually, to build better world. This session is also about exploring what's possible and possibilities, addressing the barriers that remain here, and discovering how we can work together across sectors, industries, to drive real, impactful change. So joining us, and I welcome our esteemed panelists. I want to start, ladies first. I want to start with you, Mrs. Katarina. So I want to set the tempo on the actual situation. The global push for sustainability has really accelerated. We cannot deny it in recent years, but we're still facing significant challenges across such as climate change, resource scarcity, and energy inefficiency. From your perspective, what is the current state of eco-innovation globally? Yes? What is it?
The world is challenged today on many fronts. There are 6 out of 9 what we call planetary boundaries that have been crossed. The planetary boundaries, they represent our ability as a world to continue sustainably into the future. It includes things, as you mentioned, such as climate change, but also our well-being, and our ability to continue to produce what we need for our survival. That is the situation today. We have a lot of technologies already available to address these challenges, and my fellow panelists will mention many of them. We have clean energy sources, we have new materials, we have mechanical innovations. However, what we are missing is a way how we can bring this all together and implement it into practice. Just to give you an idea, when we talk about climate change, we often talk about our goal to achieve net zero by 2050.
Yes.
In order to achieve this goal, we need to invest annually $3 trillion every year between now and 2050, and this is only to address the specific objective of achieving net zero energy.
It is interesting that you tackled the point of finance, $3 trillion, I think, per year, actually, to tackle the climate change, to go to this goal, ultimate goal, net zero by 2050. It is interesting why, because Professor Hosni Ghdeera, he just came from Baku, actually, from Azerbaijan, and you were there during the COP29. What do you think? Are we there? Are we lacking? How, before going to the AI and climate change and sustainability and eco-innovation, are we there yet? Are we on the path of the goal, 2050 zero net?
I think this cannot be, so thank you for the question. Yes, the mic is working, yeah. You know, the focus of COP29 in Baku is about finance. I think most discussion is channeled through to reaching this target and to have more commitment from developed countries to contribute to this and support low-income and middle-income countries to reach some target in decarbonization, especially. I think it was the first week was a bit heated. I think now they started yesterday negotiation for the second week of COP.
Yes.
I'm optimistic. Hopefully they can make progress, but I don't think that the progress can be made in one COP. So it would be a continuous discussion, continuous engagement of countries, and you know the COP culture is very challenging culture. So from my side, I'm optimistic. So you are progressing, not as initially hope to be progressed, but I think we still have time to reach and to find the consensus.
I will stay with you in one point because I want the current situation about environmental challenges today we are facing, but how do we see the current role of AI addressing these issues of climate change and sustainability? Are we there? Is the gap big?
We start to have more focus on how AI can be used to contribute to this target, and this started of the legacy of the COP28 in Dubai and the UAE role of post COP28 to play a proactive role in implementing, integrating AI in the climate in general. Me at Mohammed bin Zayed University of Artificial Intelligence, we have this mandate as well, post COP28, to develop this cluster and to channel some of scientific work toward that target. So we are focusing more into how AI can contribute in the energy transition, in the decarbonization, and also to mitigate climate change as well.
Okay.
So when we talk about mitigation, about using AI, we talk about data. And when we talk about climate, we have a huge volume of data that AI can play a role in this.
Exactly. And I will go back to the monitoring data. How can AI help the HI, the human intelligence, into monitoring all this huge amount of data? Mr. Baharaj, there's a rapid pace of urbanization in the world, and it's the escalation of climate crisis is at the same time. How do you see the current state of urban development aligning actually with the global sustainable goals?
Okay, well, we can look at it in two ways. We can look at it on new developments that are coming to cities and also existing cities that have been essentially evolving for the past few decades. So we will always need new developments. If you look at the current situation with housing throughout the whole world, there's always a shortage of housing. So there'll always be a need. When it comes to new developments, I think that there's still a very big gap to bridge if we want to talk entirely about sustainable models. We still put too much focus on thinking of sustainability as something you add to a development. So it's typically how can we create a city and then think about energy, water right at the end, when actually the basic principles can be there from the beginning, and that doesn't require any investment. That's really up to the urban planner, right, in terms of how you configure. So we still have a long way to go, even though there are plenty of models and blueprints available for people to learn from, and even though there's plenty of evidence-based research there. But what's quite exciting is the real challenge, which is existing cities, how you can really adapt them radically, and that goes beyond just making things efficient, right? And that's where I think we need more innovation. That's where you really need the bold solutions to really make those cities far more, not just sustainable, but human-centric.
I will go higher now, macro, let's say, because we talked about the urban and the cities, we talked about the resources and the sustainability and the transformation in the energy and the climate change and the COP. But with you, Professor, let's go into the AI-driven environmental monitoring, contributing to achieve the 2030 UN Agenda for Sustainable Development. Are we there yet? And how can this AI really now, which is new, I mean, it's a recent involvement, can maybe accelerate the achievement?
Yeah, not there yet, but exciting possibilities.
Okay.
So just picking up on the SDG Academy has a course by Rockstrom on planetary boundaries, so you're welcome, it's free. You're welcome to have a look at it. It was mentioned earlier. But his colleagues, unfortunately, they've been updating their sort of framework, and the Earth did have an absorptive capacity through the ocean to take carbon out. And what they've been warning recently is that that's not happening. So the world is warming faster. So this cut in emissions is not enough. You've actually got to help nature restore itself. So ocean health is a very good, so the one I want to focus on is ocean health. The most exciting thing I've seen on ocean health is by Martin Wiesbeck, and he has a course with us as well, One Planet, One Ocean, where you can build a digital twin of the ocean. And why that's important is that humans, if we don't see the damage, or we don't see even our efforts or policy in restoration, we don't believe it's happening, right? So to be able to actually see the ocean in a digital twin, to see the damage, but also to monitor and to actually, and you need a lot of science to do this, but you can monitor all the things that are going wrong. Then you bring in the interventions and you model the corrections, and you see what's happening in the ocean to like a pathway to ocean health and the goals in SDG 14.
Yes.
I think that's a great example of AI.
AI that is used. Yeah. But it is important how all of you agreed on one point. The gap is here. We are not there yet, even though the AI makes it easier, help us really to accelerate this point. I will go back before going to the challenges, because very quickly you tackled the challenges. I will go there, but before, opportunities. With Inrupt, I want to focus with you, Mrs. Katarina. Inrupt focuses on accelerating energy sector transformation through innovative solution. How do you see AI, environmental monitoring, and data collection with energy industry? If you have examples, that will be great.
Sure. AI is an opportunity, but also a challenge for our energy future. It's an opportunity and a challenge for our energy future. It's an opportunity because with analysis of the data, we can achieve a lot of efficiencies, reduction in our energy consumption, optimization. We have done that, for example, when it comes to electricity consumption in buildings. However, and I'm sure many of you are aware, recently we have also found out that AI will become one of the biggest energy consumers in the world, yes. And we see a multiplication of energy demand in respect to data centers across the world. So this is where I see big opportunity for eco-innovation using AI, using the digital, but also the hardware, because at the end, while we are living in a digital world, we still have material challenges, and I know that many of them are being addressed and researched by universities, right? We shouldn't forget that we are still in this bipolar world, and there is a third element to it, which is, of course, the human intelligence. We often talk today about AI intelligence, but we need a framework in order to make the AI work, and we as humans have this responsibility. So these are the three areas of eco-innovation, I think, in the energy sector that we see. Hardware innovation, digital innovation, and seeing how humans we can connect with the two in order to find answers to the challenges of bringing those $3 trillion per year to reality.
It is very important point, Dr. Hosni, because you are in renewable energy and sustainability. How can we make this equation works? Because we need the AI monitoring the data analysis. It accelerates and enhances a lot of fields, and it is very potentially important for all aspects of work, but also it takes a lot of energy.
Yeah, because also we are giving a lot of interest on the carbon footprint of our computing model as well. So we try, as part of the process, when we design your machine learning model, to make sure that the compute is optimum compute. So we need less operation. Especially now, there's a huge demand in language model.
Yeah.
You are what's going on with ChatGPT, with the Llama of Facebook. So they need like hundreds of billions of dollars of energy to need it to train this model and to make them available. So one of the action that we are encouraging, especially at the university, because we have this mandate as well, is to make sure that all algorithms that are developed, like take into consideration the computing power needed to operate them. So this is one aspect. But at the same time, we are exploring option we have our data center, because we are also blessed to be located in Masdar City, that we have also access to 10 megawatt solar power. So we make sure that all our computing is powered by clean energy, so we can offset our carbon footprint for the computing part of it. But at the same time, how we can calculate the environmental benefit of our activities is what the impact we're making, let's say, in operating large-scale solar plants. We are working very closely with Masdar Clean Energy, that are operating now one of the largest solar fields in the world. Talking about in Suwayhan is about like 2.8 gigawatt. Here, about 8 by 8 kilometer of panels, million of panels. So how we can use AI to improve efficiency of the operation. So how we can like fly drones over those panels and collecting data in real time. Here we're talking about terabyte of data collected every day, how we can process this data, how we can develop computer vision algorithm to be able to have like predictive maintenance, to collect like thermal information, thermal signature of panels, the dust accumulation over panels, and to help like operators to make their energy production more efficiency and reduce the carbon footprint of their operation. Because when you go to clean your panels, you need like army of people. We are talking millions. So this has to be calculated in terms of carbon footprint as well. So how we can, optimization can be easily calculated in carbon footprint reduction, how AI can help in this.
You are convinced, Mrs. Katarina? Because I know it takes a lot of energy to use that AI in optimizing way, but also it's beneficial.
I personally think we cannot stop progress.
Yeah.
So whatever we need to do, we need to progress. And in order to make progress, we also can think in new ways how to do that, right? So we have to, and I'm hearing there are a number of initiatives trying to improve the efficiency of the compute models, of the data centers themselves. We are in a summit. This is about collaboration.
Of course. So, well, and we'll talk about it. It's a very important point to talk about the collaboration, but it is very sensitive balance, actually. Back to you. In your book, Mr. Baharash, Human-Centric Urban Innovation, you highlight the importance of designing these cities around people. How do you ensure that a large-scale sustainable development remains grounded for the needs of all the communities?
I think you need to almost, with any development, regardless of the scale, so even if we talk about giga-scale developments, to always think of them as mini districts that make up that big development. Because only when you think in micro scales that you can actually understand that you need to provide all the needs of those people, and many people, not just one segment, within a walking distance. So I can have access to a park, to my services on a daily need by just walking there. And if we think in this way, suddenly our thoughts of how we approach city planning entirely changes. It's not like the way we plan today. I mean, most cities, especially here in Dubai, they're very much car-centric. And to flip that model, it requires an entirely different way of thinking. So when we talk about human-centric, most of those solutions are addressed through ecological urbanism. So this is a landscape-driven master planning, because ecology can address so many things, right? Yeah. So and it's not just about mitigation. I hear the term mitigation all the time.
Yes.
Sometimes we need reversal, right? So that's why we need those solutions to be far more bolder, so we can reverse all the imbalances that have happened for the past century. So I think if we think about it in a very holistic way, in terms of how can those mega scale be broken down, this will also make them more resilient, because now you're distributing.
Is the innovation and the innovative tools there? Are they there, but they are not used in your point of view?
I think the most innovative tools starts from the HI, the human intelligence.
Okay.
Looking at the basic principles, right? So we've pioneered those basic principles for centuries long. They've just not been applied, right? And what I mean about this is simple things like distribution of functions, form, orientation, density of the plans. These things can already reduce a huge energy demand, right? So instead of now investing so much money in energy, we can already reduce the amount of energy that we actually need to create.
So the question that comes to my mind, why it is not used yet the way it should be until now?
It is used very scarcely. It's not been
exactly
adopted.
Why? Big scale.
I think there was a knowledge gap at some point, and I think developers in general just became complacent. Let's just build fast, let's just build quick. And I think there's been a sacrifice between how we build versus what gives a quality of life. So I think a lot of developers were building just to sell. They ignored the lifestyle.
And they resist a little bit, in your point of view, what you have been saying, that it is easy, it's very, can be very well implemented without a bigger investment. They resist this?
I think there's still a knowledge gap.
Okay.
I really feel that. I think that people think sustainability is more about technology, about the solar panels, waste recycling.
Plan of marketing to market all those good tools, and to make them know how good they are, not expensive.
Exactly.
Or talk to them in their way they understand money.
Yeah. And I think part of the problem was maybe 10 to 20 years back, the payback was far longer, because systems were not as
How about now?
efficient. Now it's far quicker. The payback, it's far quicker.
Very good.
So now you see a far bigger adoption within developers, even in the private sectors. But the challenge now is not to make them think of sustainability as just those technological point of views, but more about lifestyle. Sell lifestyle. When you start from a lifestyle, the entire plan changes, right? Yeah. Now you're thinking of amenities,
so
green
they are
spaces.
Getting there, but slowly.
It is,
slower than you hope, at least. Professor Walsh, you have a bright experience in academia and policy as well. How do you see the interplay between the AI and HI, human intelligence, in shaping practice, resources, management strategy, especially in SDGs, of course, agriculture or energy?
Yeah, so picking up on the conversation about potentially a disconnect between science, practice and policy. Yes. And I think one of the things we're going to be talking about at the UNESCO conference, which is down the hall, is potentially the role of libraries. But I want to give you an example of a parliamentary library, which is the UN library, and they brought in AI into what's called the digital library. And the idea is that when legislators, it doesn't matter, they're in the UN, they get their minutes of meetings, they get their agendas, but why don't they get information on education? Why don't they get information on data, right? Because a lot of policy advisors end up, Googling some information when they want to make a speech, rather than actually getting the right data, the right science. And one way to get science into policy is to make sure in those digital folders that they have approved and correct information from science and from education and from policy, etc. Right? So that just makes. At the moment, I'll just tell you about how you'd go from science into policy making, but it's another story how we take the policy and translate it into practice and into partnerships. But the first step is not to expect that science jumps into the legislator. That's not what happens.
No.
So I think AI, though, and different types of platforms like that brought by the UN Library could be really, really good. Let's say, so it's like, the way legislators have political advisors. They have supports, right? Let's say that's an AI, right? And it actually brings in the correct information and the correct science for the moment.
Yeah, it is interesting how in every question you have to talk about barriers, you have to talk about challenges because they are still there. Let's tackle them with you and start with Mrs. Katarina. What do you think are the common barriers you've observed, at least during your work with Inrupt, and how organizations like yours can overcome those barriers and implement the full AI in driving sustainability?
One of the big challenges when it comes to energy sector is that it's so important that it's heavily regulated. I mean, at the end, we rely on energy in everything that we do, at work, at home, schools depend on it. So it is hard to experiment live in the energy environment. Yeah. We wouldn't want to have a blackout, for example, yes, using some new AI technology. One way how this is addressed is the principle of sandboxes that have been developed and applied by utilities, regulators, but also universities across the world, which create a bit artificial environments where the startups, universities, utilities, energy companies come together and experiment. So I think doing this more and then giving the new innovations the possibility to deploy faster is one of the biggest obstacles. And AI is generating ideas so quickly, right? But we have yes, to find a way how to apply them in practice. And I think that's where summits like these are useful because yes, we can bring all the parties involved together and make it happen faster.
True. Professor Husni, what are the biggest challenges in implementing the AI environmental monitoring and resources management?
I see the main challenge is the data, because you cannot have AI without data. You cannot have AI without quality data as well, because you can collect data, but you have to make sure that the quality check is there. And also because combining data from different sources, it's important to make sure that you have, because you'll be training a system on existing data and you'll be using the system to predict scenarios that not provided in the training phase. So it's very important to make this data available to the scientific community. And since we are focusing on the energy side of AI, the data is expensive to get because it's a very competitive market. For example, we have a project to estimate the best location to implement large-scale solar plants. And this data has very high commercial value because the market is very competitive. It means some companies are investing millions on making measurement to make sure that location is the optimum location for that. So I think from scientific community, access to data is a challenge. We are blessed here in the UAE, we have resources for compute, but I think this is the challenge for other countries because it's very expensive to build your infrastructure to be able to develop your AI ecosystem in some countries because the compute now, it's very limited. You know what's going on with NVIDIA, with a very high waiting list to get access to this technology and getting a more restriction to share this technology with many countries. So access to computing resources and also access to quality data. See the two main challenges I see facing the scientific community on this.
Mr. Baharash, through the incubator of sustainable cities, you nurture startups, so many, then tackle urban challenges. What do you see are the most critical areas for innovation in sustainable urban technology?
Okay, well, we've had 2 cycles yet for the incubator, and we've seen so many different innovations, everything from using seawater to generate drinking water without energy.
Ah, wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, but it's not scalable. This is the issue. To the world's smartest e-scooters, and I hate e-scooters, but this one even won it.
The e-scooters are the scooters that we now.
Yes,
oh,
yes.
I don't like it too.
And everything in between. We've seen it all. But the things that's really missing is more ecological solutions. And what I mean by that is water is such a big topic.
True.
But how to be able to harvest enough water for the mass. So at the moment, most of the water needs is mainly to do with desalination, which requires a lot of energy, right? So I think this is really the biggest gap that we see, but also not to focus on singular solutions. So what I mean by that is innovations that do many things at once, multifunctional solutions. I think this is a future that we should be aiming for, and this is to do with even infrastructure. So I think so much of the infrastructure, they do one thing, right? So take like roads or metros, they only take you from A to B, but they could be more than that, right? So I think both of these things, this is where the gaps are at the moment.
It is interesting. I thought the answer will be about urban cities and designing, and you answered about water. And water is the most important commodity for the human being. Professor Hosni, because you have a PhD in water science, actually, this is your main focus. So that's why I want to focus on, I don't want to come to a time that we don't have water for some reasons. Do you think AI in this particular field is really promising in giving us this solution and bridging this gap that Baharash talked about it?
I think if we talk about water energy nexus, we are living here in the nexus in the UAE because our water is coming from desalination, and desalination is energy. So it's easy to convert like 1 liter of water to kilowatt hour. So saving water here is saving energy. So what AI can play in this is optimization, because now we are using water as storage of energy, because storage is expensive. When you have utility scale solar plants, so you have to have the batteries to be able to supply clean energy during night, for example. So for us, when you have excess of clean energy or solar energy, we can use it to desalinate extra water and we can store it, and we have the storage of our energy as water, as I said, because water in our ecosystem of Nexus is energy for us. So this is one example how we can balance between energy production, water production, not through cogeneration, but also even through the new technology of reverse osmosis and combining solar desalination with the component of storage can play in this. And I see the AI can play a role in the optimization of the process to be able to predict, because we can use AI to train a system to tell you how the amount of kilowatt hour will be produced in the next 2 hours, and you can link to the fluctuation of your demand from demand side and see how you can optimize the operation of desalination in parallel of this. So there are many ideas, especially for optimization of both energy production and water production.
So that we have the water that we needed at the time that we needed without any waste. That is also...
Yeah, because sometimes we have to curtail our production. Sometimes you produce more solar than what we need. So we'll be losing this. Instead of losing this, we can...
Professor, one of the most dear to my heart topics, that is education. In your point of view, what role can education in capacity building play in fostering trust and collaboration between AI technologies and human expertise in eco-innovation?
Yeah, so I think when we talk about partnerships, particularly between the private and the public, and if we are to have business which is kind to people and kind to nature, it naturally brings, I think, the public concerns or the public values together with the private. And there has to be an understanding or a partnership between these entities to actually achieve those goals. So what I would say is, I'll give you an example where a few weeks ago we were in Saudi Arabia with UNIDO, that's the industrial agency of the UN, and we introduced this Capabilities for the Future Hub. And the problem was very simple. On global supply chains, the industrial agencies of governments were competing for multinationals. And some of them, not completely intentionally, but might have lower social protection, lower environmental protection. And what you end up with is a global supply chain that's powering the global economy, but is not kind to people or nature, right? So the first thing you got to do is train the legislators or the people in these agencies to say, well, you've got to coordinate your activities and don't be competing on issues that have environmental and social concern. If anything, cooperate to make them good, to make the global supply chain work. And when that's happening, then you can invite in multinationals. And there's also a big concern with European legislation that a lot of the compliance could go down the supply chain to Africa. And that Africa, when it's exporting its goods, will not be ESG compliant, for example, right? And that's, again, so to get to your point, though, we feel the best way to solve this is to put them in a room together, train them together, certify them together, come up with solutions together, and then they'll all like each other, trust each other, and then they'll come up and work together and have a partnership. And I think this sort of thing has to happen more. And to be fair, I think that's the driver of the skills coalition between UDP and MBRF that we heard about yesterday. I think it's a very similar idea. While they're focused more on the youth, though, and the future, but they could be brought in with the governments and the academics, and because everyone has to be upskilled.
But this is on decision maker, policy maker scale. How about earlier education? Do you think we can start this next generation, educate them about what we are talking about from the beginning?
Well, we SDS, we have a partnership with UNESCO and a few others, Ban Ki-moon Center, called Mission 4.7. And our philosophy, this is SDG Goal 4, Target 7. And what we believe is that you've got to, from preschool, K-12, university, all the way up into the labour force till death, that we're in an emergency and we basically have to train everyone, top down, bottom up. And so, yes, the young have to learn to live with nature again and to respect people and understand cultures and histories, and that's great. But to be honest, it's the ones with 4 degrees, the educated, the leaders, they
get group, to retrained again get the knowledge
upskilled, reskilled, and brought back in again.
Good point. So. Because you talked about the cooperation, I want to go back to Mrs. Katarina. INRAPT emphasized building partnership actually between startups and corporations to drive energy innovation. What strategy have proven to be effective in fostering collaboration between AI technology developers, experts to promote eco-innovations?
I think it's very important, and if we want to integrate a new invention into a big organization, and it can be a corporate, it can be government, to identify what is the challenge that the startups need to address, right? So in the past, we've seen competitions being run without doing the proper homework inside the organization. Today, we do it the other way around. We go into organizations, companies or governments, and we work with the different business units to identify what are some of the problems that you would like to have addressed, and then we go to startups. And this can be anything from, new building materials, it can be about efficiencies, it can be about education, and then we go to the innovation community, whether startups or it can be even youth innovators, and we tell them, okay, come up with the new solutions, today often powered by AI to address them. That's the principle of an accelerator, giving opportunities to these new concepts to be deployed in reality. So I think this really works, getting a challenge, getting a solution, giving it some initial resources to be deployed in practice.
Yeah, but Barash, is it the same also for you? Do you feel the partners that you should working with, you feel that you are unheard?
No. I agree with this point that actually the value that a startup is looking for is the opportunity to pilot and to be able to scale. It's less to do with investment, actually. They are mainly looking for opportunities to enter the market. And there's plenty of innovators who have some solution, they just need to scale it. And I think that's where the true collaboration comes with the public sector. The issue is that I find that many of the accelerators or the incubators, they are mainly offering co-working space, right? They don't really offer the full package. And I don't really blame them, because you do need to have the onboarding of the public sector and knowing where the pain gaps are, right? So, and the policymakers need to have vision. It cannot just be, here's the roads and we need to make more efficiency of how people to get around, but actually what solutions can people come up with that can radically change things. And that radical mindset is what is needed to really accelerate that transition.
We are, just one point,
ahead,
we are in Dubai, so the Dubai government accelerators, I think it's a very successful concept. Dubai Future Foundation is a home for this accelerator, which teams up with government organizations in Dubai, and they offer them this piloting opportunity. And it's successful. So many startups come here because they do exactly what you mentioned. They can go and pilot and scale.
How about universities and Professor Husni with Mohammed bin Zayed University for Artificial Intelligence? Who are your partners? How you build this partnership?
It's very important to have this partnership. Don't keep the academia in the bubble, because we are graduate universities, so we have very advanced research, and our scientists are working on the fundamental research as well. But also, it's very important to have this mix between applied research and fundamental. So for us, we have this continuous dialogue with government entities, with the industrial ecosystem, to bring some use cases to us and to help our scientific community and scientific groups to work on specific use cases. So it would be leveraging on the scientific knowledge they already developed, and to see how they can benefit for a tangible product at the end, so we can see the results. So for us, for example, we have very active incubation program that we are encouraging our students after graduation to translate their research to more business cases. We facilitate as well their interaction with government or industry in the ecosystem to at least to start with some end users and to translate their research work into applied research. So me personally believe that it's very important to keep this dialogue between government, academia, and industrial ecosystem to see at the end the benefit, because we are developing innovative technology, AI-based innovative technology, but we want to see how this technology will be impacting people at the end.
I want to end with one round of questions about the future. I will start with you, Mr. Baharaj. How do you see the future? I know we are not there. I know you named a lot of challenges through the process, but how can we make it work in the future to have this urbanization but working for sustainable communities?
I think we need to stop to think about cities, right? So that's probably the biggest issues that we have. We are only thinking about the challenges inside the cities, but everything is connected, right? All the things that we do inside cities has an impact to all ecosystems, and the health of all ecosystems has an impact to the health of the cities. And it was mentioned earlier about the health of the ocean, right? So we need to address cities as edgeless. They don't have boundaries. And that means whatever we do, whatever initiatives we take, we need to address them outside those boundaries. And it's not just about coral reefs or the ocean health. It happens everywhere. So much of the urban regeneration can happen beyond these boundaries. And until we understand that everything is connected, I don't think we can ever reach that point in the future. And so much focus is in the city. And I believe it's the things that we don't see, the things that maybe we don't experience on a daily basis. They're the things that we also need to take care of.
Interesting. Mrs. Katarina, what emerging AI you think technology or trends you believe will significantly impact environmental sustainability and resources management?
I think the most important innovation for AI will be to find a way how we can compute with the least energy needed.
It is the important point that it's not there yet, it seems. It's not there yet. So innovator has to come up with this solution actually for the future. How about you, Dr. Husni? What do you think is the new trend, coming trend actually in AI and sustainability, of course?
I think now the current trend is more in generative AI because language model is getting very, very popular with what's going on with ChatGPT, with Gemini, with Llama. So people are more focusing on generative part of AI, but I still believe that bringing expertise, because you talked already about human intelligence versus artificial intelligence. I still believe that they complement each other. In some topics, we need human input, and some application and some exercise, we cannot compete with the machine as well. I give an example that to be able to simulate millions of scenarios, the AI can do it in seconds. We are working on a project for Abu Dhabi city on to improve quality of life in the city, and we can simulate some scenario, for example, by increasing the size of one of the parks, by doubling the size of mangroves, how you can impact population living conditions. And this cannot be done without having advanced data fusion, collecting data from different microclimate model, IoT, because we have different sensors in the city measuring different environmental air quality parameters. So we combining all this, the only AI can do that. So this is here talking about terabyte of data that is collected continuously and be integrated in decision-making system that is fed by data fusion, machine learning, and deep learning on this.
Interesting. I want to end with you, Professor Walsh. How can we ensure the ethical deployment of AI for environmental sustainability?
Yeah. So we've always, at SDSN, again, I plug another course. We have a course of ethics in action.
Yeah.
And it's about the major religions and no religion and why they're getting behind the Sustainable Development Project. And Jeffrey Sachs will be here tomorrow. He's going to give a talk, but he has a new course, The Ages of Globalization, which is really begging people to understand each other's languages, histories, and cultures, so that we can actually cooperate better to protect the environment, be kind to nature, and be kind to everyone, and to have compassion and even love for everyone. Right? My belief is that this is where the human intelligence has to come in.
Yeah.
Because the humans have learned, I'm hoping, that we're not actually kind to society and nature, but when we actually program AI and we do licenses and we deploy it and we use it to create knowledge and to disseminate knowledge, let's program that to be kind to people and nature, and actually take it out of people's hands. Yeah. And to be fair, when we look at these robots, I think the first question that comes into our mind is, oh, they could be deployed as a weapon. They could come and get us and kill us, right? But
let's program them not to.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we have a huge, in the Knowledge Summit, I think one of the foundations, and we should always have a session on, is philosophy and ethics, whether it's Confucius to all the different religions.
Yeah. I didn't want to finish and end this session without talking about ethics, but it's a good point that even ethics with the AI, we can program them to be kind and nice for the human nature. We have only one planet, we have to preserve it. Thank you so much for this, for all your insightful thoughts. Thank you for all our audience for being here in this session, even after lunch. Thank you very much. Have a great afternoon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.